Hey everyone, welcome back to English Without Effort. I'm David.
And hi, I'm Alice. So happy you're here with us today.
And hey, quick thing, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that right now. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a new episode.
Yes, we put out new episodes all the time, and you don't want to miss them. It really helps us too, so thank you.
Now, before we jump in, I want to say something to you, the listener.
Oh yes, this is important.
Just by listening to us talk like this, two friends having a real conversation, your English is getting better. You don't need to study grammar or memorize lists.
Exactly. Your brain is already working. It's picking up the rhythm, the words, the natural flow. You don't even notice it happening.
And one day, you'll open your mouth and the right words will just come out. That's the magic of listening to real conversations.
I really believe that. Okay, so today's topic, David, tell them.
Today we're talking about a super useful phrase. Two little words. Make sense,
Oh, I love this one. I use it all the time.
right? And it sounds simple, but there are actually a few different ways to use it. And once you know them, you'll hear this phrase everywhere.
Everywhere. Like, seriously, everywhere. In movies, at work, in conversations with friends.
So let's start with the most basic one. That makes sense. You say this when you understand something, when an explanation is clear and logical to you.
Yeah, like, okay, imagine your friend explains why they were late. They say, sorry, the train was delayed. And you say, oh, that makes sense.
Exactly. You're saying, I understand. That's a good reason.
It's like saying, I get it, but a little more. I don't know, natural? More conversational.
Yeah, totally. And you can also use it as a question. Does that make sense? You say this when you explain something and you want to check. Did the other person understand?
Oh, teachers say this all the time. So, we add the numbers together first. Does that make sense?
Yes, every teacher ever.
And it's not rude. It's actually very kind. You're checking in. You care if the person understood.
Right. It's not like saying, did you understand me? Which can sound a little, I don't know, cold. Does that make sense? Is warmer.
Much warmer. Okay, so we have that makes sense and does that make sense? What else?
Well, there's also, it makes sense to do something. Like, it makes sense to leave early if there's traffic.
Oh, that's a good one. You're saying it's a logical, smart choice.
Exactly. Like, it makes sense to bring an umbrella. The sky looks dark.
Or, it makes sense to book the hotel early. It's a holiday weekend.
Yes, you're giving a reason. You're saying, this is the logical thing to do.
I like that. Okay, what about the negative? Because I use this too.
Yes. That doesn't make sense. You say this when something is confusing or illogical.
Like when you get a bill from a restaurant and the number is wrong. Wait, this doesn't make sense. We only ordered 2 things.
Exactly. Or when someone gives you bad directions. Turn left again, then go straight. And you're like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going in circles.
That happened to me last week, actually. I was using a map app and it told me to go through a park. Like, a park with no road. I was like, this doesn't make sense at all.
Wait, really? Through a park?
Through a park. I was so confused. I just stood there.
Ha, that's so funny. Yeah, that definitely doesn't make sense.
It really didn't. Okay, so we've got that makes sense. Does that make sense? It makes sense too. And that doesn't make sense. Those are the main ones, right?
Those are the big ones, yeah. Let's try some situations, like real-life moments where you'd use these.
Oh, I love this. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, situation 1. You're at a coffee shop and the barista says, sorry, we're out of oat milk today. What do you say?
Easy. Oh, that makes sense. It's Monday morning. You're probably very busy.
Perfect. You're not upset. You understand. That makes sense.
Exactly. It's also a nice thing to say. It shows you're being understanding.
Okay, situation 2. You're at work. Your boss explains a new plan. It's a bit complicated. She finishes and says, what?
She says, does that make sense? And then everyone nods slowly, even if they're confused.
Yes, we all do that. But ideally, if you really understand, you say, Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
And if you don't understand, you can say, actually, this part doesn't quite make sense to me. Can you explain again?
That's great. It's polite. You're not saying your boss is wrong. You're just saying, I need a little more help here.
Right. This part doesn't make sense to me yet. Very polite.
Okay, situation 3. You're talking to a friend. They say, I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm really tired today. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You should rest tonight.
Simple, warm, natural. That makes sense.
You know, I think this phrase is also really good because it shows empathy. Like, you're saying, I hear you. I understand your situation.
Oh, that's a really good point. It's not just about logic, it's also emotional. I understand why you feel that way. That makes sense.
Yes, like your friend says, I was nervous before my presentation. And you say, that makes sense. It was a big moment. You're validating them.
Validating. Good word. You're saying their feeling is normal and reasonable.
Exactly. Okay, what about it makes sense to? Can we do some examples of that?
Yes, let's do it. So, you're planning a trip, you say.
It makes sense to book flights early. They're cheaper.
Good. Or, it makes sense to pack light if you're only going for 2 days.
It makes sense to check the weather before you go.
Oh, that's a good one. Or, in everyday life, it makes sense to cook more food on Sunday so you have lunch for the week.
Meal prep. Yes. It makes sense to prepare your meals in advance. It saves time.
I keep telling myself that, but I never actually do it.
Same. It makes sense to do it, but I just don't.
Knowing and doing are different things.
Very true. Okay, what about using it with technology, like talking to AI or a smart speaker?
Oh yes, this is so useful. Okay, imagine you're asking an AI assistant to help you plan something. Like you say, I want to visit Tokyo for 5 days. I like food and history. And the AI gives you a plan. You read it and say,
This makes sense. Thank you. Or even, that makes sense as a starting point.
right. Or if the AI suggests something strange, like visiting a museum that's closed on the day you're going, you'd say, wait, that doesn't make sense. The museum is closed on Mondays.
And the AI should understand that and fix the plan. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Or imagine you're on the phone with customer service. They explain a process to you. At the end, you say, okay, that makes sense. So I just need to send the email and wait 3 days?
Yes, you're confirming. You understood. That makes sense.
And it sounds so natural and polite. Way better than just saying, okay, or fine.
It shows you were actually listening, which, is always a good thing.
Always a good thing, yes. Okay, let's talk about something I find interesting. Sometimes people say, that makes sense, even when they're a little surprised.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like, you hear something unexpected, but then you think about it and go, oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, like a little aha moment.
Exactly. Like, your friend says, did you know that bananas are actually a type of berry? And you go, wait, really? Huh, actually, that makes sense.
I love that. You're surprised, but then your brain processes it and says, okay, I can accept this.
Right. That makes sense can mean I already knew this, or I just figured this out.
Both. And both are valid.
What about when something really doesn't make sense? Like when you're genuinely confused or frustrated.
Oh, you can really emphasize it. This doesn't make any sense. Or, none of this makes sense to me.
Yeah, adding any makes it stronger. This doesn't make any sense at all.
Like when you're reading the instructions for building furniture. You know those flat pack ones?
Oh no, don't get me started. Those instructions never make sense.
Step 4. Insert piece B into slot C. And you look at the picture and you're like, this doesn't make sense. Where is slot C?
And there are always leftover screws at the end. That doesn't make sense either.
It never does. Why are there always extra pieces?
A mystery for the ages. Okay, let's also look at how you can use make sense when you're explaining your own decisions.
Oh, right. Like justifying yourself.
Yeah, like, I decided to walk to work today. It makes sense because the weather is nice and I need the exercise.
Or, I bought a bigger bag. It makes sense. I carry a lot of things every day.
How many bags do you have, Alice?
That is not the point, David. The point is, it makes sense.
It makes sense, sure. Okay, what about asking someone for their opinion? Like, does this make sense to you?
Oh, yes. That's a great one. You're writing an email or a message and you show it to a friend. You say, "Does this make sense? Is it clear?"
And they read it and say, yeah, that makes sense. Very clear. Or, this part doesn't quite make sense. Maybe say it differently.
So useful for writing, especially in a second language. You want to check, is this natural? Does it make sense?
Exactly. And it's a humble way to ask. You're not saying, is my writing good? You're just saying, does this make sense?
Less pressure, more approachable.
Right. Okay, I want to do one more thing. Let's just go through a bunch of quick sentences with make sense, so our listeners really hear the rhythm of.
Oh, I love this. Like a rapid-fire round.
Yes! Okay, I'll start. It makes sense to drink water when you're thirsty.
That makes sense. She's tired because she worked all day.
Does that make sense? I can explain it again if you want.
Wait, this doesn't make sense. The price went up, but the quality went down.
It makes sense to save money when you have a stable job.
Oh, that makes sense now. I didn't understand before, but I do now.
This map doesn't make sense. I think it's wrong.
It makes sense to call ahead before you visit. They might be busy.
I'm not sure this plan makes sense. Can we think about it more?
Yeah, that makes sense. Good idea.
Perfect. See how natural that sounds? And how many different situations you can use it in?
It's everywhere. Once you start noticing it, you'll hear it in every conversation.
That's the thing with really useful phrases. They're hiding in plain sight. You've probably heard make sense 100 times already.
And now you'll really hear it and start using it yourself.
Okay, let's wrap up. What's the big takeaway from today, Alice?
Well, make sense is not just one phrase. It's a whole little family. That makes sense. Does that make sense? It makes sense too. That doesn't make sense.
And you can use it to understand things, to check if someone else understands, to justify decisions, to express confusion. It does a lot of work.
Such a small phrase. So much power.
Exactly. And honestly, just by listening to this episode, you've already heard it so many times that it's probably starting to feel natural.
That's the whole point of the show. You don't study it, you absorb it. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
I had to. I had to do it.
Okay, next time, we haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking something about asking for help. Like phrases you use when you need someone to repeat something or explain something.
Oh, that's so useful. Things like, could you say that again? Or, what do you mean by that? Yes, I love it.
So stay tuned for that. And hey, before we go, if today's episode was helpful, please subscribe and turn on notifications. It's the best way to keep learning every single day.
And if you have a friend who's learning English, share this episode with them. The more people listening, the better. It really means a lot to us.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Keep listening. Keep growing. See you soon.